And so tell us about the current place. You know, the sustainability, I think, of is really where you're trying to kind of hone this
Hmm.
mindset of you're using not only the entire piece, the entire fish, the entire animal, but you're also looking for some of the like the fish that may not hit other menus,
Yeah.
and that there's a lot of great fish out there in the ocean. Not
Hmm.
to use as some sort of the matchmaker we just talked about. There's a lot of fish in the ocean, but literally there are, and there are some that other chefs are gonna be like, I'm not gonna take that one, not to get that one, but you are gonna use everything that's available to you, and you're gonna use the entire piece. So maybe like, is that's obviously a mindset you're going in with, but how do you
Hmm.
attain all this?
I just
Yeah,
want to
it's
pause and
yeah.
wait for the Plenty of Fish advertisement now to play. You know, sorry, I had to. I had to. You opened the
Yeah,
Definitely.
doors.
That's how you
Okay.
get
no
sponsors.
worries.
Right?
Yeah, exactly right. Okay, back to you, David.
Exactly. Back to you.
It didn't start off with that. I always had some sustainability in mind when I moved here, but mostly at first I just was very excited about being close to where the fish are.
Hmm.
And I
Yep.
thought I'd be able to get anything I wanted. I was like, this is where the boats come in. And I was really shocked to learn that I couldn't get anything. And I was lucky just to get fresh. At first, I was just pushing to get fish that had just come off the boat that was,
Right.
no more than 2 days out of the water. I thought that would at least be easy. But
Hmm.
I fought that battle for a long time. And then I did want to get like some bycatch. And it took a long time to get people who would buy in. The fishing industry is not geared towards saving things. They're geared towards focusing on 5 or 6 species. And for local areas like this with fishing fleets, they're geared towards sending everything out of town immediately. So they're fishing for New York. They're fishing for
Right.
Las Vegas.
Right.
They're not fishing for local consumption. And
Hmm.
so they don't want to catch anything that they're not going to get, orders in the thousands of pounds for. So that's really the trouble. And that's why we have these species that are pressured, we say, rather than healthier stocks that we don't have to manage. And so we just have to diversify. That's the whole premise of sustainability is diversifying what you eat so that you're not pressuring any one thing.
Oh, I want to talk about the James Beard Award
Mm-hmm.
now. And let's jump forward to 2024 when you win. And I read in your speech that you said that from doing what was sorry, what from doing what was best for you to doing what was best for the community and the next
Mm-hmm.
generation. And that
Yeah.
really stood out to me. So do you think that the evolution of that mindset changed in the way that you lead and how you cook, and ultimately that played the role in your restaurant being recognized for that award?
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
how do you keep those values going now, today?
I think that's been sort of came in even when I worked at Cafe Clover, which was trying to be healthy and create food that would like just be good for people essentially.
Yeah.
And then coming to Shipwrights and the sustainability aspect really it's a lot about the fish, but it's also a lot about the fishermen. And the small fisherman is a dying breed.
Yeah.
And they really need a lot of help. There's so many regulations and all this stuff that makes their lives really, really hard. And a lot of what we do is actually to support the fishing community and to keep those are the people that we live and around like in this small area. Your purveyors are also your friends, like these are people you hang out with, these are people you see in town. There's a lot of very close connection to the community, and that's just something that we want to support. For us, sustainability, we say it goes deeper than the food. We want the people who work for us to have sustainable careers so they can stay in the restaurant industry and not burn out and make a living and have benefits. And we want the people we buy food and products from to have sustainable business models where they can make enough money fishing to support their families and have it be a viable career. So that's just where it all came from. And James Beard has done some pretty amazing things in the past few years. That kind of reinvented themselves from, giving the award to the same 5 chefs every year for decades to, kind of putting some ethos behind it of trying to support people who are giving back to the community and doing really great food, but also for the right reasons. And it just all kind of clicked and we got super lucky.
Well, that's amazing.
I think when we
Congratulations.
talked with the chef Paul about this as well, because he won in West Virginia, and the community, how excited they were for him. And it must be
Mhm.
such a source of pride for these fish purveyors,
Yeah.
for it to see the amazing things that you're creating with their product that they work so
Yeah.
hard for, but then to get the recognition. And it must have been a
Mhm.
community award as well, I can imagine.
For sure. When I was nominated, also Renee was nominated from Port of Call for Outstanding Chef nationally that same year. So we had like the governor came to town and like we got these
wow.
like proclamations. It was a big
Nice.
deal. There hasn't been a James Beard award-winning chef in Connecticut for almost 20 years.
Oh, wow.
So this
It's
was
the
a big
state
deal.
the forgotten state for sure. So she was a huge deal for the state and for Mystic, of course, to be on the map like that. And yeah, for the fishermen, I love when they come in. We try to put the name of the fishing vessel for below the dish for where the fish comes from, because we do know where it actually comes from.
Oh,
Perfect.
And I get a lot of requests for, oh, can you take a picture of the menu and send it to me? But it's like, fishermen don't get the credit that farmers get. Everybody's talking about where
yeah.
their carrots came from, but no one really talks about where the fish came from. We don't have that traceability. So it's really big. It's big for them, I think. It's super regulated in some ways, whereas like USDA, there's lots of inspections for like your beef gets inspected 20 times, but fish doesn't have that. But the regulations on catching and licensing and quotas are really, really, really hard to deal with.
Yeah.
We've done some work recently. We had a bill passed in Connecticut last year to help us get green crabs, but sorting through the bureaucracy is overwhelming.
Yeah. Well, I want to talk about that. So I do want to talk about your the work you've done with the invasive green crab. So first off, congrats on the New York Times feature. I saw that.
Thank
That
you.
was amazing.
That was really cool.
Yeah, that is so cool. So you've really been leading the charge on finding culinary uses for the green crab, which is, I think, such a cool example of problem solving through food and how that expands to so many other areas of your community and your environment. So tell us where that idea came about and what it means now to be getting national attention around this.
Yeah, it's an amazing story, really. It started with when I worked at Robuchon, where one of my jobs as sous chef was to get the products. Robuchon was coming to town. He came like 5 times a year. We'd get a list of things. And so it was always like, we're going to do a crab dish. So we want all the available crabs. I want to see everything you can possibly get, and we're going to pick which ones to use. And we did that. And he came in, and then they're like, well, where are the green crabs? And I was like, well, I don't know what you're talking about. So of course I go to try to find them. And I was like, we don't even know what that is for fish purveyors in New York. And I couldn't get them. They're like, well, in Europe, this is what we use for stock. It's the best crab for stock. And then I went years later. I've been searching for them ever since. Years later, I go fishing with my cousin for tautog. And he pulls out a basket of green crabs. And I was like, where did you get those? He's like, what do you mean? Where did I get those? They're everywhere. I just get them off the dock. And I could not believe that there's so many, they're a nuisance, and yet I can't get them as a food product. And that just started this whole thing where I was searching for them. I finally found a fisherman, Jason Jarvis from Westerly, who was willing to sell them to me for food. And then, that led me to greencrab.org, which I didn't know existed at the time.
Love that.
And Mary, who's doing an amazing job, like doing the same thing. She had sort of the same mission, and it's really exploded. I'm so happy that I've been able to get people to eat these little things.
What was the concern? Was this part of the overregulation of it? Or is it just not a moneymaker?
There's some regulation problems, but most of it, there just weren't a market for them. No one knew how to use them.
Yeah.
No one was using them for food. But then once we get to the point where, okay, I know how to cook them, I know how to get people to eat them, now I have to find them, it's really hard because of the regulation. So in Connecticut, they're designated as bait, which is really weird. There's like 30 species actually that are designated as bait-only species. And so in order for me to get those species, the fisherman has to get a bait license. So, and what he does is he catches the bait, he sells it to himself because he's also the dealer. Right. So he's a bait dealer. And then he can sell it to me, and the bait dealer, right? Same person sells it to me. And then I have to have a bait dealer's license to sell it to the public. So I then have to sell it to myself so I can sell it to a guest, but I still have to call it bait.
This makes all the sense in the world. All the sense in the world.
I was like, okay.
So logical.
It's really, really crazy. Wow. So we're really trying to get that whole thing wiped and changed, but changing laws is really hard. So we got it so that at least we don't need that license now, where someone can go and get green crabs with a bait license, sell them to me, and I don't have to get a bait license. And it's just dumb, but it's
so are there people using them as well in their cooking?
Yeah, I think I don't know. Locally, there's a few people that use them. If you go to greencrab.org, there's a bunch of restaurants that use them. One of my favorite success story of this, though, is when we did our James Beard dinner in New York that was green crab focused last year. Mary went to, I wish I could name the restaurant. It's in the West Village. And she went there just for lunch, and they had green crab bisque on the menu. And she asked the chef, she's like, I heard about this guy in Mystic who's doing it. So we got some. And I was like, wow, if things are going from Mystic to New York, that's nice. Great.
That's
now,
cool.
where can I get green crab? Because is this an Atlantic thing? I'm in the Pacific Northwest. Can I get it here?
They actually are having a big problem in the Pacific with green crabs right now. They're starting to I don't think they were there originally. Or maybe the water temperatures, that's what's happened here, are really spiking their population. Right. But yeah, they're there, and they're going to start using them for sure. You'll see the same movement that's happening here, but they're having the same issues environmentally with them now.
I feel like all I heard a lot was about Asian carp, and I'm in Chicago, and I feel like we hear a lot about that in Lake Michigan. And I think some people have tried, but apparently it doesn't taste very great to eat them. No. And so I'm
But you know what, though? They would be great for like the cat food. industry.
I did hear
there's
some-
a lot of fish that are just fished just for cat food
Just for,
or,
so it's
or
fine for our-
fertilizer.
yeah,
Like,
it's
so
fine for our feline friends, but not for our
Absolutely.
human friends.
yep.
My poor cat.